Can't hear you.
Louder.
Louder.
Your mouth up to the mic.
This is not something I normally do. Okay? Ellen asked me, and Ed asked me to do this. And I said, I can't do that. And he said, yes, you can. I said, no, I can't. He said, yes, you can. I said, well, what would I say? And he said, well, talk about me. And I started laughing. And then I said, well, what will I say about you? And he said, well, you could talk about our Yosemite trip. And I started laughing harder. And he said, what's funny? And I said, oh, I don't know. I didn't want to say. Anyway, I wrote a little story here, and I'm going to read it to you. Can you hear this?
Yeah, just keep your mouth
closed.
I want to hear it all.
Once upon a time, there was an extremely thoughtful, humble, conservative man. He thought nothing of himself, only of others and what he could do for them. That man was not Ed Bilow. For the sake of the wholesome, uncompromising Christians who are present, I need to advise you that one cannot talk about Ed Bilow without cussing. The saying goes without saying that one cannot cuss without mentioning Ed. The two simply go hand in hand. You've seen the movie, What About Bob? I asked, what about Ed? I invited the Bilows to go camping this summer in Yosemite. Myself and my kids and 5 other families have reserved a campsite for 30 people. Ellen and her girls turned me down cold. You see, they had already gone camping with Ed. Ed had asked Ellen for years to go camping, and when she finally did, when she arrived at the campgrounds, she stepped out of her car and was almost immediately bitten by a squirrel. Well, you can imagine the squirrel's surprise. I mean, there are so many nuts in the forest, it's hard to distinguish one from the other. That was the last of Ellen's campouts with Ed. But Ed leaped at the opportunity to take his boys to the great outdoors and immediately started packing. I discovered on the camping trip that Ed is special. Very special. If a sign said, do not enter authorized vehicles only, Ed entered. And when he entered, he did not sneak, because by golly, he felt authorized. I believe that psychologists call this an illusion of grandeur. Ed calls this owning a handicap sticker. We saw other signs in Yosemite. Danger, do not enter. Danger, do not leave the trail. Danger, do not climb on the rocks. Danger, stay out of the river. Ed left the trail, climbed over the rails, and went out on the rocks in the middle of a raging river. This was the first time in a decade that Yosemite had seen as much water as it had been seen. Every waterfall was in the works, which is very unusual, and the river was so violent that they were prohibiting vehicles and people from the river. But this did not stop Ed. I told Ed's children to look at their father. They said, "Why?" I said, "Because this very well could be the last time." And so they looked upon their father with irritation at me, and we went on. I found Ed to be very safety conscious on the trip. One example of this was when he had his sons ride full speed on their bicycles down the side of a mountain with lawn chairs around their necks. Another example was when he accepted a bet to jump out of the top of a tree into hypothermia-type river water. His reward for this feat was a candy bar. I gasped to think what he would have done for 2 candy bars.
This is all true.
The next day, he asked Simon, my son, to go with he and his boys to one of the waterfalls hiking. I said very calmly, "There is no way in hell that my child is going anywhere with you." He then said, "You're paranoid." I thought, better paranoid than dead. The next story gives me PMS just thinking about it. On the 3rd day, as the sun came up, a deer meandered through our campground. Justin Bilow, the son of Ed Bilow, emerged from his tent to discover all the other campers rushing to within feet of the deer with bridled excitement. They stood in awe, discussing the beauty of the animal. At that point, young Bilow Jr. remarked, "Oh yeah, right, check out the beautiful deer taking a piss in our campground." And Bilow immediately followed. Obviously, he did not see the other campers sitting with jaws on the ground.
All of it.
The same day ended with a fist fight between the Bilow boys. Ed did not see the fight start. He was totally in the dark, physically and mentally. Come to think of it, that's pretty much his state of being. I did see the fight start. You see, one Bilow boy threw a half-empty bag of marshmallows at the other Bilow boy, demanding he put it away. The other was outraged at the command and violently threw the marshmallows at the commander. At that point, all the other campers rushed their families to bed, while the Bilow boys basically beat the shit out of each other. The peaceful outdoors The peaceful outdoors were transformed. Wild, giant, fist-flying shadows cast by the bonfire moved about the camp. Whacks and poundings and screams filled the quiet of Yosemite. Ah, the great outdoors. On the last day, it took about 10 hours with a lot of sweat and a lot of work for all the campers to pack up and carry their belongings a mile to where their cars were parked. That is, except Ed. Special Ed, literally special Ed, drew his trusty handicap sticker and took all of 1/2 hour to drive down the authorized vehicle road and pack up. As he drove away, we heard him exclaim, "Let's do it again next time."
Alicia. Marvelous. Alicia. The funny part is it's so true.
Alicia. Yeah, you don't know. You can't find
we had a sign-in thing for everybody, we had this other page there.
Can't hear you.
We had another page there for if anybody wanted to say anything to me after Alicia and James, and you want to follow them. You know? If anybody wanted to say something to me publicly, this is the chance. Nobody was like me. If you change your mind, step right up. Anyway, so this is the conclusion of our entertainment tonight. And I just want to again thank everybody. We're going to have the dessert now. And don't forget to look. There's a photo album inside that Ellen put together. Now, we didn't have a slideshow here, but what you would otherwise see in a slideshow with the photo album there. It's really shows Charlton and that's about it. Thank you, and that's all.
Yeah. Matter of fact,
Stop.
You know, I never knew that you went through all of this shit.
We even have pictures of all of them.